I can say for sure my deadlifts are getting stronger. So for today, I did 370 for 4 sets of 3 and 315 for 2 sets of 5. And I can tell you for sure that the 370 moved faster than I've ever moved 370. I think I can do 370 sumo um, pretty easily, but conventional, this is the fastest it's ever moved. Or at least I can say it's the fastest that's ever moved with decent technique. I've been able to pull 455 on a stiff bar, and by the way, this is on a deadlift bar. So I've been able to pull 455 with a stiff bar with a cat back, and I think around 415 for 3 reps with also a really rounded back. Now I'm able to pull 370 with relatively acceptable rounding and form based on my opinion. And my setup feels tight, feels good, and I feel my glutes working during the deadlift. Usually, I only feel my lower back when I start to get around the 300s, but now I feel my glutes, I feel my hamstrings, feel my lower back, I feel my back overall. So I think I'm going to make a lot of progress doing these deadlifts in this program. As you can see, I'm still tweaking my form during my warm-up sets, but what's really worked for me is bending down to grab the bar, but keeping my legs relatively straight, but not completely straight, and try to keep my back flat, but then pulling the slack hard, and then bring my legs down and pushing on the bar a little bit to try to use a bit more leg drive, and then that will also keep my back relatively straight. And if I have any lockout problems, by the time I explode after my setup is correct and my slack is pulled and I explode up, I should be able to speed past my lockout. One interesting observation that I've noticed while doing these sets as well as while watching the videos is that my bar speed for my sets after the first set is slightly faster than the bar speed of the first set. I think that's because I'm more used to doing the same weight, so I'm able to push off of my legs more and be able to speed through the reps faster. In terms of fatigue, I get more fatigue as I do more sets, but in terms of doing a faster rep, I think it does go faster even on the fourth set compared to the first set, especially the first rep. Because with the first set, I'm still kind of maybe a bit hesitant on how the 370 will feel, so my speed might be a bit slow, but I think sets after that do go a bit faster. So as the weight increases in week 2 and week 3, and especially the last 4 weeks, the weeks 5 to 8, I'm interested in seeing how more maximal, heavier pulls go with this faster speed off the floor. And I really like the amount of intensity that's being prescribed in this program so far. Right, like I put my max as 455. I did a 470, but that was, like barely locking out. I hitched, right? So I think I can do a 455 without hitching. So putting that as a max, I am doing 370 this week, and I did, I think, 360 last week. And these are pretty good weights, right? I can do 4 sets of 3 of 370, no problem. I don't want these reps to be super grinders, right? I think I did my 370, my last set, and it was like RP7. Maybe even RP6. I think RP7, right, to be fair. And I didn't think these 315 2 sets of 5s would be so exhausting. But they were after the 4 sets of 370. And one more thing I noticed is how good conventional deadlifts feel to me compared to sumo, even though I can lift more and with sumo, but at the same time, how much more unforgiving and physically taxing conventional deadlifts are compared to sumo. I think after a few sets of sumo, I'm usually okay, right? They tax my body, I think, a bit less than squats, but I think these deadlifts tax me more than squats. Like today, after I finished bench, which was 4 sets of 3 at 230, which is the number I put for a RP goal of 8 for the last set, for a 2 count pause. Like after that, I had to do 3 sets of 5 for squats at 260. I was pretty like exhausted. But the squats felt pretty decent, as well as the bench. So here's me warming up. That was 135. This is 185. I'm really just warming up with the singles. For my last workout, it was the comp pause bench for 230 for 5 sets of 3, and I think I ended at RP 8. So this is a 2 count pause bench, so it's a bit longer, but only for 4 sets. And I think I hit around RP 8.5 or 9 at my 4th set. But these felt really good. And I think once I get to weeks 5 to 8, I might start using a belt just to see how much I can push in terms of real competition, because you're allowed to use a belt for competition, right? And trying to hit those triples, doubles, and singles at RP 8 or 9, I think, for bench in this program. I'm really interested in how that will turn out. And so far, I feel good with bench and deadlifts and squat. But I think bench is where I want to see how this pausing really does for me, because most of my bench work is now paused, right? And also you can see that my deadlift bar is there, which here I start to do some bent over rows, which there are some rowing added in this program on day 2. But instead of, I think, the bench grip seated rows, I'm going to do these bent over rows. And I did this set, I think, after my 3rd set of my bench. And I suck at bent over rows. This is 155. And for a set of 10, it's not super hard, but I try to not go too heavy on these. I'm just having different thoughts right now. I think with bench, the explosiveness applies from the deadlift to the bench as well, right? Where if your setup is correct and you're all tight and everything, and the bar on the bench is now on your chest, you should think about all just exploding up, right? And exploding up at the right time, pausing just at the right time when you hear the press command, right? And for example, if you look at elite powerlifters like Ray Williams, for example, he did that over 1,000-pound squat a few years ago, where his second attempt didn't count, but his third attempt with sleeves, right, his bar speed was freaking phenomenal, right? And if you look at Russell Orh's IPF Worlds, what he did with his squat, his third attempt, it was over 700 pounds for his body weight. His bar speed was phenomenal as well, right? And even though he had a bit of a shift to the right, which is an issue that I also had to deal with, I think he's just stronger on his right side. But as a powerlifter who competes at that level, right, or at any level, if you hesitate during that part where you struggle the most, you could be causing your lift to fail, right? For example, if you hesitate with your bench during that beginning part of the rep, or even in the middle, and your bar goes down a little bit, right, that's a failed lift, even if you make the rep, right? Same idea goes with the squat and deadlift, right? And one more example is Ray Williams, where he did a 1,080-pound squat a couple years ago for his third attempt. I think he missed his first 2 attempts, but his third attempt, he just exploded with that bar, right? His bar speed was also phenomenal. And if you watch how he squats, he descends very slowly and explodes back up. Russell Orhe goes down faster than Ray Williams, but he also explodes back up, right? So I think the point of exploding back up with good form really helps you break through these parts of the lift that you might get stuck otherwise, right? And hesitation, like I said, is not a good thing, especially when you're trying to do these competition lifts and trying to win, right? So I think At least for me, with all my pause lifts or my regular lifts, my main goal is to be explosive with good form. If I can maintain these two kind of principles, then I think my lifts are all going to go up, my squat, bench, and deadlift. I think personally is especially true for squat and bench, where my form in those two lifts are, I think, more acceptable, at least personally, compared to my deadlift. But even with deadlifts, I think it's also at a good point where I can focus on being explosive. I've never tried to do any speed pulls or speed squats or speed bench, but I think focusing on speed and explosiveness on all of my reps might be something that I'm going to be focusing on in the future. So, anyways, thank you for watching. I really like talking about this, giving y'all examples and trying to help whoever's watching. So, thank you for watching and peace out.